Look at it. The hair, it's coming out. Hi, welcome, hello. Join me. My name is Alex. I make music as Arcade Island. If you've been following along, then you already know that I just put out an album. It's called Dreaming in the Void. You are required to listen to it immediately. Stop what you're doing. Go listen to it. Unless you already have, in which case, disregard. I am going through each and every single track on the album, and I'm going to show you how I made each track on the album. Last week was Droplet, and today is Weak Clay. I'll be honest with you, I don't really love the name. I kind of wish I changed it. Naming a song is, sometimes it's easy. Sometimes you have a refrain in it, like in Hemophilia, where it's easy peasy. I'm like, oh, I say Hemophilia like 20 times. So let's just call it Hemophilia. And that's the theme of the whole song. Other songs like Leviathan or this song, I started thinking too much about it. Like, well, if I make it this line in the song, well, then everyone's going to think it's about that. And that's not really what it's about. And I don't know. I'm overthinking it, which is what I do every moment of every single day, so I'm not surprised. There's a song that I love by Ethel Cain called 78 Fahrenheit, and I was listening to it a lot when I was writing this song. It's not even an official song of hers, I don't think, because it's always listed as a demo, and there's no official release for it, but you can usually find it on YouTube somewhere. I don't even know if she wants it to be online, but I don't know. It samples a song called Push by Fog Lake, and it's really slowed down, but it has this really ethereal atmosphere to it. And I think it was just rattling around in my brain as I was just sitting down at the piano and playing around, and when these chords came to me. I adore the sound of a piano that is being played with its sustain pedal depressed the entire way. So the dampers are pulled back entirely, and every note is allowed to just ring out until it stops. That can get a little out of control depending on what kind of music, what kind of song you're playing, or depending on how the different notes and chords work together. But a lot of the time it just sounds so full. There's so much depth to it. It's like a warm hug. So I recorded it with 2 condenser microphones on either end of the piano, just above the action with the lid pulled up. That's how I recorded pretty much all the piano on the record. And all I did was I did a little bit of EQ, cut out some of like the muddiness at the bottom, and I wanted to muffle it a little bit. I didn't want it to sound too bright. And then I had some chorus to give it a bit of a liquid effect. And then I did a compressor pretty strong to really squash the sound of the piano a little bit. And underneath that, coming up just beforehand at the end of Droplet, is just a rain sound effect. Don't ask me to explain why that's even there, because sometimes things just sound good to you. I don't know why, from the moment I started writing this song, I just imagined there being a rain sound effect in the background. It just felt like a break in the tension and the momentum of the rest of the record. And it's this like very somber, slow start to a song. I don't know, the white noise of that rain in the background just kind of sets a scene. You can imagine me in the parlor of some house in the springtime with rain just sort of pouring down. And yeah, that's it. That's the only 2 elements as the song starts. And then just my vocals come in, similar stack to everything. And I have a pretty decent amount of delay on it. Under the covers, finding myself in shame. Those 3 chords that repeat modulate here at the end. And then, wham! I'm only hurting. It all hits pretty hard. The drums, again, just like every song, I'm not going into the details on every single one, but this is what they sound like. A little bit of a swing to those drums. I played it a little bit straight when I first was demoing it out, and then as I was recording it, it sounded a little bit more natural to have a bit of a swing to it. Then we have the bass, DI, just like every other song. The bass works with the drums pretty well. And then we have the guitars. There's no real super heavy distorted guitars in this one. So that whole trick of me recording the guitars once via amp and then simultaneously through DI, I didn't do here. I just have the amp recording. I have left and right. And both of these are being sent to a bus just called guitar chorus. And there I add a little bit more distortion through the decapitator plugin. And then I add flanger. So the flanger is what gives it that sort of spacey effect. So if I take the flanger off, and then the flanger, you get this. And I had that going to a pretty strong delay. So without it, it sounds a little bit too dry. And then we have a synthesizer lead here that's buried a little bit. If you're not really listening for it, you can't really hear it. It's also apparently spelled this way. Sithin. I should really fix these things before I start recording. You'll hear a bit of a mistake in it. So let's listen to it. You can hear snare hits in there, and they're not supposed to be in there. But what happened was, this is originally a MIDI synthesizer. The synth was getting lost a little bit, and when I would pull it up, it would kind of overpower some of the other instruments. And then when I would pull it down, you couldn't hear it at all. And so to help kind of keep the volume in check, but allow the snare hits to punch through a little bit more and add a little bit more definition to the groove, I use sidechain compression. And sidechain compression is where you place a compressor on a track, and then instead of the compressor sort of reacting to the signal of that track, like the sound of that performance, that's how I use 95% of the time, you can set it so that it's being triggered by another signal. And the other signal that I use is the snare. And so when the snare hits, it actually pulls the volume down on this synth lead. If you were to mute this track or just play it by itself, you can hear this signal. I don't know why they thought that would be a good idea. It doesn't, I've used Pro Tools and I've used Logic. It doesn't do that. I don't know why in Studio One it does this. And maybe if somebody out there wants to watch this video and say, hey, Alex, you're an idiot. You don't have it set up correctly. That sound isn't really there. It's just, for some reason, the signal chain is just basically when I'm soloing this track, everything else that it touches, any other bus or aux or effect is also soloed at the same time. And once you unsolo it and it just goes back to the ensemble, you don't hear it anymore because that's just how the signal's working. But what I didn't realize at the end of the production stage when I got to mixing and I was like done recording, I bounced out or printed that MIDI data to an audio track just to basically lock it into place, and like I've said in another song, save on computing power so it doesn't have to keep referencing that synthesizer and playing it. I didn't realize it would actually export out that sound. And silly me, I didn't actually check. And in the context of the song, I couldn't hear it. And you still can't hear it. It's not the end of the world. But this is why it's important to double check. All right, double check your work, double check what you're doing. These waveforms here should have given it away, but I just didn't realize it or didn't notice it. So anyway, that was a very long explanation. And then so for the vocals in the chorus, we have two vocal stacks. So we have this primary vocal stack that is the main lead. I have doubled vocals, so the primary melody, I'm singing it once. I'm only hurting myself. And then I'm singing it again underneath. I'm only hurting myself. And then we have harmonies here that I sung left and right. I'm only hurting myself. And those harmonies are an octave apart, so one is an octave higher than the other one, which is why I had to jump into falsetto there. And it doesn't really sound good on its own, I'm just gonna be honest. But altogether, it sounds like this. I'm only hurting myself. Harmonies are oftentimes just something that you feel, like you're paying attention to the primary melody. And the harmonies, in my opinion, as long as they shouldn't really detract from the main vocal anyway, so you don't need to put a ton of effort into the performance, like being emotive or whatever. You kind of just need to get the notes out. And so that's all I'm worrying about. So the harmonies kind of sound sometimes a little bit lame, but the reality is they're backing vocals. They're supposed to be in the background. You're not really supposed to pay much attention to them. You're supposed to feel them. I'm only hurting myself. And those are all going to a bus, as you might have guessed. That's just Vox chorus out. And again, really simple. I just use bus compression to keep everything together, and then equalization and these chorus effects. a little bit of plate reverb just to give it a little bit of space. And there's a response vocal here that is comprised of basically a very similar stack with the primary melody. You can have everything. And harmonies below it. You can have everything. And those are all going to a separate bus that is just called Vox Chorus Ad Lib. And I add a little bit more distortion and take out a little bit more of the low end so it feels more in the background. I also added this chorus effect, which is what gives it that sort of watery, warbly sound. So without the chorus, you can have everything. With the chorus, you can have everything. And it helps it just sit in the background a little bit more. And so that's pretty much it. At the end of the chorus, the backing vocals overlap and ring out as the final line is sung. But that's not how And then in the post-chorus, we have the string arrangement that comes in. I originally did this on MIDI, and then I sent it off to Jess and Tom, who did all the string performances for real. I did keep one MIDI string in there, I think just to boost and emphasize the melody a little bit. And then the rest of the strings sound like this. And then I have this like ascending ostinato melody that I'm playing on MIDI flutes that sounds like this. One melody doing this. Then that leads us into the second verse, and the drums are doing this. And the bass is playing along. Go back to those piano chords. I'm just letting them ring out as whole notes. And then that sort of counter melody that's in there comes back in the second part of the verse. And then back to my single vocals. See you on Sunday, meeting you in my mind. And then as we get into the second part of the verse, there's a string melody that plays here in the side. Which I think sounds really nice with those chords. And then just before the second chorus, you mix it up a little bit, and then the string section comes back in. And then I have this clean guitar melody played here. And besides delay on both of these, I didn't send these to a bus. I didn't even add anything to them. No compressor, nothing. I think I was that happy with the way that it sounded. Or realistically, I just forgot. Back into the chorus. I'm only hurting myself. And then as the chorus ends and we get into the bridge, I scream. Just let me go! Which originally were placeholder lyrics, but I couldn't find anything that really felt as good as those. And I don't know how well they make sense in the context of the song, but whatever. I don't know. I like it. Sounds good. There's a song by Idiot Pilot. I'm bringing up Idiot Pilot again, called Moray or Moray, parentheses, The Locust. The bridge to that song is insane. It's seriously, it's like one of my favorite pieces of music. And the rest of the song I think is great, but honestly, when I play that song, I'm just excited because I know that the bridge is going to sound so incredible. And it's just so atonal and bizarre. When these chords sort of came to me in the writing process, I thought to myself, how do I want to like arrange this? And I'll be honest, I literally said, I'm going to arrange it in a very similar style to Moray. We have these percussion elements here. We have me bumping my fist on the piano bench, like in other songs, that I pitched down, added sub frequencies, compressor, equalization. Then this percussive element here is me taking a drumstick and hitting a small plastic tub with it. You can barely hear this, but there's this sort of sonar sound that I don't actually know what it is. So whoopsies, sorry. It sounds like I'm smacking something metal or maybe even glass with a drumstick. Back to the old fingers on the piano bench. And then this shaker sound, it was me taking a pencil, I think, or maybe it was a pen, and I'm kind of just taking the end of it and wrapping it across some paper. Just sort of like this. And I just really boosted the higher frequencies and really compressed it to hell. And then in the second part of the bridge, there's a snare that comes in. And that's actually me striking the piano bench with a drumstick, like a ton of times, like 20 times. And then I just comped them out into one track. And I added a lot of low end just to give it a little more body so it didn't sound quite so tinny. And then the guitars are doing a lot of the work here. So on one channel on the right, I'm playing this really spaced out guitar with a delay insert right here. So it's in the track, and therefore I'm sort of balancing what you're hearing out of the effect versus what's the actual dry signal going into it. And I'm playing 16th notes, 30, or somewhere between 16th and 32nd notes. Like I'm really just kind of, you can think of like Dick Dale, like. And in the left channel, I'm playing a pretty basic like 16th note pattern. And then it works with the other guitar like this. If you listen to Moray by Idiot Pilot, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. And this arrangement is so heavily inspired by that. And then as the second part of the bridge comes in, I have bridge vocals here that sound like this. Do I dream to be forgotten when your word is haunting me? If I learn forbidden knowledge, could it teach me to be free? And then a melody under it that was pretty difficult to sing because that melody kind of goes up and down all over the place, and the way that the chords underneath it are moving, I kind of had to jump between doing thirds or doing fifths, minor and major, and this is what it sounds like. Do I dream to be forgotten when your word is haunting me? If I learn forbidden knowledge, could it teach me to be free? And there's also a string part that's playing underneath it. It's sort of ascending and building tension. And then we come out of that and go straight into the final chorus. I'm only hurting myself. And the final chorus is constructed the same way as the other one. We do a double chorus. I go through them twice. The only thing that kind of changes is in the second repetition of the chorus. I ditch the call and response vocals, right? The ones that are in the background. And I'm just doing harmonies. I'm only hurting myself. Waiting on you to forget. And then it ends. And originally this song just kind of ended in the demoing process. And even at the time that I had sent the strings out for recording, it just sounded like this. But I wanted to bring the string boys back. And this is actually cannibalized from the post-chorus after the first chorus, just to give it a little bit more chordal information, if you will. So that's that. That is Weak Clay. It's one of the more atmospheric songs on the record, and I love the piano in it. I really love the bridge. And again, go listen to Idiot Pilot. It's required listening. It'll be on the midterm. So go listen to my album, please. Go tell people about this. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. I will be testing each and every one of you. That's right, all 5 of you. So be prepared. That's coming your way. And I don't know. I'm out of here.